Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Show Low City Council to order. By roll call, see that all council members are present, with the exception of Vice Mayor, who's excused this evening. I'd like to welcome those of you who are with us tonight in the audience, as well as those who may be watching tonight on home channel City 56. We're thankful for the right that we have to assemble and the right that we have to do the business of the city before the public tonight. We'd like to begin by an invocation. I've asked Councilmember Clark if he would lead us in that, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Leach. Those who'd like to join with us, please stand.
Our Father in heaven, we are thankful for this opportunity we have to gather as a city council for the city of Show Low. We are thankful for the building which we have to meet and the pleasant circumstances that we meet in. We are thankful for this country and for the freedoms and the opportunities we have to gather and to discuss the need of the citizens of Show Low. We're thankful for the opportunity to be a part of a representative democracy and that the voice of the people can be heard and can be discussed this night. We are thankful for the men and women who serve our communities, who are first responders and who are last responders. They are facing a global pandemic. We pray for them and their safety, that they will be able to be protected and watched over. We pray that this global pandemic, if it be thy will come to a cease, and that thy hand will be a part of it, and that the people who see it will be able to recognize thy hand in it. We pray that thou will give us wisdom tonight as we discuss the needs of this community. We will be inspired, and we will know that we can have the ability to discuss and to debate and to openly talk about the things that are facing our community, and that if we are disagree on matters, that we will not be disagreeable with one another, that we will be able to do it in the spirit of friendship and as community members. We ask that thy hand will continue to guide us and enlighten us with thy understanding. And this we do in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Clark and Councilmember Leach. Appreciate that. The item we have tonight is call to the public. Any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is not scheduled on the agenda may do so at this time. Your comments need to be limited to 3 minutes, and they need to address the council as a whole. We have an item on the agenda tonight, item 8A, which is later in the meeting, that we will allow people to talk on that item, and that has to do with the cell tower. So if there's anything other than that on call to the public, get them now open for call to the public. See nobody moved to call to the public. I'm going to close call to the public and bring it back to special events. Next item on the agenda, presentation by the Show Low Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Rob Hepner.
Mayor, council members, thank you very much today. So pretty straightforward and simple. I don't have a PowerPoint this time, but you guys kind of would like to know what's going on. So we're sort of updating you and let you know. Facebook is averaging around 10,000 reach and 3,200 engagement. We knew we were going to take a little bit of a down on that, and I'll explain why I'm not too concerned about that at all, because it has to do with people walking through the door, which is what we wanted to do. Instagram's about 500 average reach per post. The events we're planning, we've already started to schedule to do for Show Low Days for next year, and then also for the Derby down the Deuce. Those are two main events that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to be looking at, hopefully, we'll be deciding the next meeting, getting regular meetings going as far as breakfasts are concerned or something like that, based upon the guidelines that we can hit with COVID, stuff like that. In person, so we've staffed now with all of our own staff at the chamber building, so the TIC, so that when you walk in the door, you got a person that's dedicated for that. We've changed the volunteer program to represent people that are going to be business either owners or business people that are associated with an ownership of a business that's a member of the chamber. That's specifically to meet the mission of the chamber, which is to develop commerce and to develop the economics of our area so they can interact with the people that are coming through the door in a different manner than just their business. And that's our mission statement, which is encourage a strong local economy by providing networking and leadership opportunities for our members and the community. We're moving to solidify the building with as far as we're caught up on our bills, let's put it that way. We'll be ahead of the ball now on payments and such. And we're looking to actually refinance the building so that we were at 6% interest, and we can get mid or low threes, hopefully. So we're looking to refi doing that. Our total visitor count. So the big deal is people walking through that door and meeting somebody who's friendly and knowledgeable. In August, we reported 423. There were 5 Saturdays in August. There's 4 in September. We had 419 people through the door. The average for the chamber previous to that has been about 100. So yes, COVID has a lot of people coming up here, but we're also engaging them to walk through the door. We do that through the website. I gave you the website statistics. That's a focus for us because of the fact that websites actually engage people to action versus just getting a like. The like's great. That's awesome, but getting them to walk through the door is what we want. So any questions?
Do I have any comments or questions, council?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good work. Thanks, Rob.
Next item we have is a presentation of the snow management plan by Rick Austin and Ryan Hall. Welcome.
Thank you. Put the peepers on. Be right with you. All right, Mr. Mayor and Council. Staff would like to take this opportunity to present the 2021 snow plan. Here to help me with this presentation is Ryan Hall, the street supervisor. During a snow event, the city is split into 14 routes that 28 plow operators are responsible for. When a call out is necessary, 14 of the 28 drivers will begin plowing their assigned routes that are shown on the map on your screen. I got the map too. Simultaneously. The main pieces of equipment include 4 10-wheel trucks, 2 6-wheel trucks, 3 loaders with plows, and several pickups for cul-de-sacs and smaller right-of-ways. In conjunction with the streets operations, the Parks and Facilities Maintenance Team led by Mikey Mariscal will start cleaning sidewalks and parking lots at the city-owned buildings, which include Bus Barn, Aquatic Center, Senior Center, Police Department, City Hall, Library, Museum, the streetscape on the DUSA clubs, cemetery, parks, and parks trails. The main pieces of equipment used are 4 pickup trucks, 2 side-by-sides with plows, and 2 tractors equipped with Gannons and front loaders, and of course several snow shovels. During a snow event, Ryan, Mike, or myself will assess the need for the equipment that may be needed to deploy the snow removal or de-icing operations to commence. Snow removals are classified into 4 levels. Level 1 is reserved for 1/2 inch to 2 inches of snow. When the snow starts to fall, Ryan, Matt, and myself will start monitoring the streets for any slick areas that may need treatments such as cinders or a mix of de-icer and cinders that were approved by council. Level 2 is reserved for 2 to 3 inches of snowfall. At this point, Public Works is out making sure all the school bus routes, collector streets, transit routes, and city-owned parking lots remain open by a combination of light plowing and cinder spreading. Other Public Works staff at this point are being put on standby for a full call-out. Level 3 is reserved for 3 or more inches of snow and triggers a full call-out of 2 12-hour shifts that are supervised by Ryan as the A shift coordinator and Matt the B shift coordinator. Public Works is split between the 2 shifts and snow operations continue until streets are open and passable to traffic. After the snowfall has ceased, streets will be widened by Public Works. Following a predetermined sidewalk list that is in the plan, which includes the City Hall parking and the entire downtown area. Level 4 is reserved for a severe event that triggers a haul-off of snow that impedes traffic and rescue services to pre-designated dump sites. The last function of the snow plan is removing snow berms for the elderly and disabled citizens of the city. The city will return to the approved locations for snow berm removal when a resident has successfully submitted a snow berm removal form with a doctor's statement that the applicant is physically unable to perform the act of shoveling snow. A snow berm removal form is available upon request at Show Low City Hall by calling the Public Works Department at 532-4100 or by downloading the form online at www.showlowaz.gov. During a snow event, the airport will be conducting brake action tests on the runway to determine what action needs to take place to keep the airport functional. As the need arises, additional resources and manpower may be rotated to assist in the snow removal process. Staff has created a policy regarding mailbox damage due to snowplow operations. Staff recognizes that the post office regularly has the resident put their mailbox in the city right-of-way or will not deliver mail to them. The city allows the resident to put the mailbox in the right-of-way with the proper permitting process and gives direction as to what can be installed by the citizen. If damage is reported, the resident has the option to make a claim to the city, have the city replace the mailbox, or fix it themselves and submit a receipt to the city. But before a claim is paid, a city representative will verify if the damage is indeed due to snowplow operation and not for other reasons like rotten post or pre-existing conditions. They will be documented by the Public Works Department during pre-snow operation inspections. If it is deemed that the city is responsible for the damage, reimbursement of up to $100 of the value of the box can be obtained by the citizen. Public Works will photograph any damages and keep a log, which includes the date, address, type of damage, repair costs, and materials, time, and labor for each repair. Thank you. Do you have any questions for us? I did better this year.
Let's hope for snow.
Questions, comments?
When is the snow
Councilmember
coming?
Gavas?
Rick, would you just repeat the number and contact information to request a berm removal?
Absolutely. Okay. A snow berm removal form is available on request at Show Low City Hall by calling the Public Works Department at 532-4100 or by downloading the form online at www.showlowaz.gov.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Councilmember Hatch, did you have a comment?
No, I just wondering when the snow's going to get here.
Okay. November 22nd.
I'm ready
Okay.
for it. Thank you,
All right.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. We appreciate
How
it.
you do?
Good job, Ryan.
Next item we have is the consent calendar. Since all these are tonight are on proclamations, I'll read what they are going to be. A community fast of compassion for those in need the week of November 8th to the 14th. Arizona Cities and Towns Week, Substance Prevention Abuse Month, proclamation of Buddy Poppy Day, and then we have the minutes of the Show Low City Council meeting on September 29th and the regular meeting of October 6th. Any comments or do I need a motion? I need a motion to approve. A motion to approve the consent calendar, seconded by Councilmember Hatch. Any other discussion? All for
I know we have representatives from a couple of these. Do any of those representatives want to give up and give kind of a brief presentation on what?
we're going to get with them in a minute here.
Okay.
Okay. Let's approve this and then we'll get with them. Okay.
All right.
All right.
New
I'll-
to this, so.
All those in favor? Any opposed? See that pass 6-0. This time we're going to watch a short video for the Arizona Cities and Towns Week proclamation.
Day and night, sun up to sundown. People who ensure the safety, protection, well-being, the convenience and enrichment, those who live, work, and play. in every city and town in Arizona are constantly at work. And thanks to each and every one of these services, many that you never think of, Arizona cities keep businesses at work, libraries open, traffic lights blinking, clean water flowing, and so much more, keeping life as we know it moving. They say that a city never sleeps, and thanks to Arizona Cities at Work, that has never been so true. Learn more about how your Arizona cities and towns work.
Thank you. Next proclamation we have is the Community Fast of Compassion. I'd like to read this, and then we'll turn the time over to, we have tonight, Steve Williams, Steve Heckathorn, and Tom Brown, different community leaders that are here tonight, and would like to present them this proclamation. It says, whereas community service has always been a part of America as well as Show Low's heritage, and whereas the number of those in need in our area seem to be an always growing number, and the people of our community have always shown a sincere desire to help those in need, especially during the holiday season. And whereas a number of faith-based and other organizations approached the city of Show Low in 2013 with a plan to help those in need in our community, and whereas the city of Show Low embraced this concept, out of which was born the Community Fast of Compassion for those in need. And whereas the city of Show Low and its citizens have discovered that the Community Fast is a very worthwhile cause that has made a huge difference in the lives of many in our community. Now, therefore, I, Darrell Seymour, Mayor, on behalf of the Show Low City Council, do hereby proclaim November 8th to the 14th as Community Fast of Compassion for those in need week, and urge all citizens of Show Low to come together for the 8th annual Community Fast of Compassion for those in need. Join us in setting aside one day during this week to fast and pray for guidance, grace, and protection for our great city and nation as we address the challenges of our time and the concerns of those in need. Donate the cost of 1 or 2 meals or more, if possible, from this fast to this worthy cause, with donations accepted at Show Low City Hall, National Bank of Arizona, Chase Bank, Washington Federal, and Arizona Federal Credit Union, and online at www.showlowcommunityfast.org. And due to COVID-19, a video celebration will be filmed with representatives of the organization sharing inspirational stories and accounts of how the monies were used to benefit last year's recipients, with the video celebration available for viewing at www.showlowcommunityfast.org beginning Sunday, November 22nd, dated this 20th day of October. I'd like to invite these guys to come up today and receive this proclamation here and say a few words. I will. Each of you here.
Thank you.
Steve and Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. As you noted, Mayor, this is the 8th annual Community Fast of Compassion. For those that aren't familiar with it, that week of November 8th through the 14th, they're able, they can fast for 1 or 2 meals, take the money they would have spent or more, and donate it to a common fund. 100% of the monies donated pass through to help local families in need over the holidays. In the 7 years that the fast has been going, more than $100,000 has been raised here in this little community, and every penny has been passed on to help families in need. And so every year it seems to grow just a little bit more. The celebration at the end of the fast that we normally hold is a highlight. I know several members of the council were there last year, and due to COVID, we're not going to have that this year, but there will be a video tribute. Something that is new is the website that you mentioned, Mayor, showlowcommunityfast.org. You can go there now. It gives kind of a summary of what the fast is about. There's some short video clips on organizations that have gotten contributions or donations in the past, and you can learn a little bit more about that for people that may not be familiar with it. showlowcommunityfast.org. And we just say thank you for your support. It's one of the great things about this community as we draw together and on common ground over the holidays. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I want to affirm what Steve just said. We're very grateful for the support that the City Council and staff have given us over these years. And we recognize the importance of this because this is one highlight of a community working together. And the thing about the fast that's special is that everybody can participate. It doesn't exclude anyone because of your background, culture, your attachments, your organizations. You're just a citizen of Show Low, and as a citizen of Show Low, you can fast a couple of meals and contribute that money to the fast, and it will go to help people in various areas. We have all of the schools receive money from the fast committee. Most of that goes to providing clothing for children during the Thanksgiving and Christmas time. Meals have gone out also in that respect. It also goes to helping helping organizations like the Salvation Army, the Christian Community Outreach. These organizations provide housing for people, pay utilities, and other services. And then there are service organizations like the Elks Lodge, the VFW. All of these organizations receive funds, and we trust the people to allocate those funds to those in need because they're closer to them than we are as a FAST committee. So I just want to thank you personally and also on behalf of the committee for the support you've given us.
Thank you, Pastor Brown. Appreciate it. Pastor Heckathon?
One of the things that is interesting, on Sunday, we're all in 3 different houses of faith, but the one thing we all have in common is compassion for those in need in our community. And so, to me, it's a privilege to step alongside Tom Brown and Steve Williams and different members of the community. The city of Show Low itself getting behind this has been such a huge part of the success of this program. And one of the things that we initiated, and it was initiated by Steve, was the ability to give is just so easy. You just walk into any local bank, walk into City Hall, and you can make a donation. Nobody's soliciting you. Nobody's calling your home. So you can go into City Hall. You go to the National Bank of Arizona, Chase Bank, Washington Federal, Arizona Central Credit Union, or go to the www.showlowcommunityfast.org and give. So it's just such an easy way to give with nobody soliciting or trying to press you for money. And as we've looked at what the city of Show Low has done, we are just so grateful for your participation and support. And we really don't have words enough to say what that has meant to this fast. So from all of us on the Community Fast Committee, we thank you. We just wondered if we could just leave some literature for each of you. I'll leave it with you, Rachel, if that's okay. And again, we thank you for your support, and God bless each and every one of you.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You guys have a good evening.
Guys.
Our next proclamation is, I'll read this here. It's a proclamation of Buddy Poppy Day. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922. Whereas VFW Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Wars is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living. Now, therefore, I, Darrell Seymour, Mayor, on behalf of the Show Low City Council, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2020 as Buddy Poppy Day in the city of Show Low, Arizona, and urge all citizens to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generally to its support through your donations for Buddy Poppies on Veterans Day during the distribution of these symbols of appreciation for the sacrifices of our honored dead. Mr. Hill, we have you with us tonight. We'll give you a moment to come up. Chair, please. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just say a few words.
Yes, please.
I've given you a packet, each one of you a packet. And it kind of runs down our community shirt, what we've done in the last 3 months. I'm the commander this year. And in the last 3 months, you'll see that we've been very active, even during the COVID. And we're operating our routine operations at post under the restrictions of the COVID-19 mandates out of the governor's office, much as that's hurting our ability to raise funds, especially with our bingo operation. You can see that a lot of miles have been traveled and a lot of man hours in the last 3 months, as well as we've donated individually and organizationally wise quite a bit of money to help others in the community. And I must tell you that in support of the FAST program, funds that have been distributed to us, like last year, have went out to over 70 families in the community. So this is a very poor time to try and raise money, especially from a lot of our businesses who are hurting and not able to be in operation. A couple upcoming events. November 11th, not only is we're celebrating Buddy Poppy Day, which goes back to the First World War, and it's also the anniversary of the First World War, the ending of the First World War. So on November 11th, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we will be holding ceremonies at the Show Low Veterans Memorial. And later on that day, with the Elks Lodge, we will be hosting a dinner for no cost to all veterans in the community. We'll see how that works. And it'll be chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, and beans.
All right.
So all veterans are welcome to come. And we will be celebrating, we will be hosting for the community, by generous donations of members of the post, we will host for the community, especially those who are in need, Thanksgiving dinner from 2 to 4 on Thanksgiving Day. All the members will donate turkeys, hams, and all the fixings, and we'll prepare it in our kitchen and then feed. December 7th, are we going to have a parade this year?
Yes, we do have a light parade.
We're planning it.
And we will be there. And December 7th, we will commemorate Pearl Harbor Day at the Veterans Memorial here in Show Low. I thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to personally thank you and the Fishers of Men for your help and for your great display that you shared with us on the corner of Circle K here over 9/11 and also Labor Day. That was awesome.
Yes, that was a impromptu thing, but it worked.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mayor, quick comment. Terry, next time, if you think about it, you guys have these events at the Veterans Memorial. Can you drop Tamara or Rachel email so we can maybe try to attend? I've drove by it a few times and go, what are they doing? And it'd just be nice if one of us up here would be able to attend some of the, even if it's the same day and we can't, but at least we know that it's available.
It will be done.
All right. Thank you, Terry.
It will be accomplished.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item we have is item 8A, new business, consideration of appeal of a conditional use permit, 602-04-232, submitted by Young Design Group on behalf of Verizon Wireless to allow for a 110-foot monopine cell tower. Mr. Tregaskis.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'm going to flip through all the snow maps here real quick. And I do have a staff summary report that I will be presenting.
On September 22nd of 2020, the Planning and Zoning Commission met to discuss conditional use permit 60204-232 submitted by Young Design Group on behalf of Verizon Wireless to allow for a 110-foot monopine cell tower located at 591 North Clark Road, alternatively addressed as 3980 West Cooley, that being AP number 309-52027B. That is shown on the map in front of you. 6 commission members were present. Commissioner Best was absent. During this meeting, 2 motions to approve were made. Neither motion received a majority vote. No motion to deny was ever made by the commission. In accordance with local, state, and federal requirements, any motion to deny must state the reasons for doing so. Following approximately 2 hours of discussion and public input, the commission voted to continue this item to the October 13th meeting to allow the full commission to be present. At its regular meeting of October 13th, the commission heard additional information presented by staff and the applicant, as well as additional public input from concerned area residents. Concerns centered on potential health effects, impacts on property values, safety issues, other possible location, and the reduction of setbacks. I would add at this point that the courts have ruled that potential health effects of monopine or cellular phone towers are not a reason for denial unless the emissions from those cell towers exceed the FCC regulations for those. As proposed by the applicant, these will not exceed the FCC regulation. Following over an hour of questions and discussion, the commission voted 4-3 to approve CUP 60204-232 submitted by Young Design Group on behalf of Verizon Wireless to allow for a 110-foot monopine cell tower located at 591 North Clark Road, 3980 West Cooley, that being AP number 309-52027B, subject to staff recommendations. These conditions are, number 1, all development shall comply with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, and building permit requirements. The antenna and supporting structure shall not exceed 110 feet. No addition to the height of the tower shall be permitted. The tower shall be in substantial conformance with the submitted site plan and submitted determination of no hazard to air navigation. A maintenance plan for the tower shall be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Department. The tower shall be maintained in accordance with this plan. And as indicated by the applicant, no generators shall be utilized. As of October 15th, the city clerk had received 2 appeals from neighboring property owners. Copies of these notices of appeals have been provided to the council as part of their packet. Since that date of October 15th, we did receive additional appeals. Those have also been provided to the council. City Code Section 15132H addresses the process for appeals of conditional use permits as follows. H1, any aggrieved person may file an appeal with the City Council regarding any decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the Commission's action on a conditional use permit by filing a written notice of appeal with the City Clerk specifying the request. If no appeal is filed with the Council within 7 days after Commission action, the action of the Commission shall be considered final. H2, when an appeal is filed with the City Clerk, the Planning and Zoning Director shall place the item on the next available regular City Council meeting agenda. That would be this evening. Or in the alternative, the Planning and Zoning Director may set the matter for public hearing before the Council as per the notification requirements outlined in Section 15132G4. Notice shall be given to the Planning and Zoning Commission of such appeal, and the Commission shall submit a report to the Council prior to the hearing setting forth the reasons for its action taken. The Commission shall be represented at the hearing by the Commission Chairman or his designee. I would point out that our Commission Chairman, Mr. Eric Bishop, is present at this meeting this evening. H3, Council action. Letter A, Council may grant or deny it. The Council may elect to set the matter for a public hearing, and the latter action shall require notification as outlined in Section 15132G4. 3B, the Council shall, within 15 days of the public hearing, either uphold the decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission or make a decision of its own. The Council is not bound by the record of the Commission's findings and/or decision in reaching its decision. 3C, the council may grant a conditional use permit with conditions the council deems necessary to secure the intent and purpose of this section and require such guarantees and evidence that such conditions are being or will be complied with as the council may desire. And 3D, the council's decision shall be final and shall become effective immediately. Notice of the decision shall forthwith be mailed to the applicant at the address shown on the application. Based on this section of City Code, the council may uphold the commission decision to issue CUP 60204-232 with no changes to the conditions of approval. Council may uphold the commission to issue CUP 60204-232 and modify the conditions of approval. The council may deny CUP 60204-232, and I would remind the council that any motion to deny must state the reasons for doing so. Or the council may elect to set the matter for a public hearing. Council is not bound by the record of the commission's findings and/or decision in reaching its decision, and the council's decision is final and becomes effective immediately. With that, myself, as well as the applicant, are available for questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Just want to share a little bit, if I may here, take just a moment. I appreciate those that are here tonight to wish to speak and wish to listen to this discussion that we have. I want to thank our commission for the work that they put forth, for the hours of time that they've spent in guiding through this decision. Their decision did not come easily nor lightly. It started out with 4-2, 3-3, 4-3. As you can see, by chance tonight, we normally always have 7 council people present. Tonight we have 6. Okay. The last thing I want to do is have a vote that's 3-3 tonight. Okay. Personally, I don't have any idea how these other council people would even vote, but we have an even number tonight as opposed to an odd number. But going through this and discussing this today with our city manager, city attorney, there are some things that I'd like to just throw out possibly as we look at this a little bit. It's obvious that our code is 20 years old. It's obvious that there are some things that are changing in our world of technology. And it's possible that we need to look at the code by which we have for towers, because this is not going to be the first one we've had in a long time. Well, we had one recently, but they're coming more recent. They're going to be more and more coming. But I think it's only the second one that I've seen or third one total in 16 years. But those have all came within the last 3 years, I believe, 2 years, probably the cell one, 2 different towers, and then this one. So with that, I want to ask the residents here just in general by show of hands. I know that probably if I were to just ask you and poll real quick, how many of you that are here tonight would be in favor with what you know right now of the cell tower? And how many of you would be opposed? Okay. Yeah, and you're residents there. Okay. So I understand that. If there was anything that could change in the distance of where this cell tower was located, if it was moved further from your property, it may still be on the same property, but further from your residence, if we're able to modify the code somewhere, would more of you possibly change that opinion and more likely be in favor of it? If you would be more willing to listen to that change, could you raise your hand? That may offer some relief.
What exactly do you mean? You mean in the property there, but Circle K and...
You know the site better if you don't share with that.
I think what he means is to move it closer to the highway and away from the residential zoned area.
Not enough. There are other places a mile away that are...
Okay. Then I'm just going to throw this back to council. One of my questions and concerns are, because tonight we got this stack of paperwork that just came in. We haven't had all of us time to read it, review it. There's other things that are coming. I would like to look at the one option that we have is to move this to a public hearing, that we can have a public hearing and schedule this for a public hearing. And if there's anybody who cannot speak and be in attendance that's here tonight, that would like to be here, that can't be here, but would like to speak, we will schedule this for the 17th of November. Okay. And in that gives us some time to look at possibly if there's anything we can do with the code or not. But that's just a comment, and I'd like to share that.
I got a quick comment. If we take this to a public hearing instead of listen to everybody, it'd be nice if you guys would come up with a spokesperson, because like the mayor just said, we just got this tonight and there's no way I had time to read this tonight to make any kind of decision. There's a lot of reading here to do, but I'd like to see it go to a public hearing just so we can hear you guys, but not all of you, but maybe one of you speak for everybody, because it looks like everybody's on the same page. So that's just my thought.
Council, is any other of you, just any other, we'll bring it back to the public here in just a minute. Council, is there any other comments, or does anybody feel different that they'd like to just go ahead and deliberate this tonight? Councilmember Kelly.
That wasn't where I was going. Okay. But to follow up with John's comment, I think there's merit to not hearing from everybody, especially if you're going to say the same things over and over again. I would not be in favor of limiting it to one person. I'm thinking people out here might choose different than one spokesman, but I like your concept. Okay, I just don't want to agree to we'll only hear from one person. That's all. And yes, Mayor, I think your comment has merit. I spent a lot of time reading already. I'm sure all the rest of you have too. But the stuff we just got, I didn't have time to do it justice. So in the interest of us having more time to get ready and giving you folks more time to get ready, get organized, but not limit you to just one person. I want to make that clear in my position. Okay, thank you.
This time, come up, state your name, and let you speak here.
I just got one question.
Okay, but you still got to come up. Okay. I'm sorry. Because we're recording this, they need to know who made the statement. Sorry.
How are you?
Howdy. I'm Bob Hamilton. One question, I just want to reflect off what the gentleman said earlier. Why so close or into a neighborhood when there's a lot of land outside this neighborhood that's not being used? Something to ponder. I'm not looking for an answer. I'm just asking why why buried so far deeply in this neighborhood when it could be in the city park, adjacent to the city park, or further down the road towards Pinedale, where apparently there are transmission issues in that area. So maybe next time when...
And I think that's a question that we could have answered by the applicant, at some point in time.
Please.
And could you give us your address, please?
It is 401 North 43rd Drive.
Thank you. Shalom. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here that would not be able to be here on the 17th that would like to be heard tonight? It'll be 7 o'clock, and we'll put it up on early on the agenda so it doesn't go quite so late. We'll move it probably to the second or third item on the agenda. Come up, state your name, please.
Thank you. My name is Kevin. I do plan on being there on the 17th, but if I may, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
So I was reading the code 15132G2 that stated that if homeowners within 150 feet write a letter of protest to the city, that it would then require a 3/4 vote to pass the amendment. And I didn't hear that mentioned earlier, and I just thought that that's pretty significant. It's part of the code. I do know that Betty, who lives within 150 feet of the tower, did submit a letter of protest. So I felt that it met the requirement that would require 3/4 of the city council to pass that amendment. I thought that was important to be mentioned.
City Attorney, you want to weigh in on that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, members of council, Mr. Lowry quotes the wrong section of code. Section 15132 is conditional use permits. Section 15132 G2, as he referenced, refers to commission action and reads, deny the conditional use permit if the commission finds that the application and supporting data do not indicate that all applicable conditions and requirements of this section shall be met, shall deny the permit. Notice of denial, including reasons therefore, shall be mailed to the applicant at the address shown in the application, and the commission shall report its actions to the city council. I believe what Mr. Lowry is actually referring to is section 15.131 of City Code, which is entitled Text Amendments and Zone Changes. This is not a text amendment. This is not a zone change. 15.131 G2 reads, if the owners of 20% or more, either of the area of the parcels of land included in the proposed change, or of those immediately adjacent in the rear or any side thereof extending 150 feet therefrom, or of those directly opposite thereto extending 150 feet from the street frontage of the opposite parcels of land, file a protest in writing against a proposed amendment. The amendment shall not become effective except by a favorable vote of 3/4 of all members of the city council. It goes on from there, but I think that's the meat of what he was referring to. So again, that section is 15.131. That refers to a zone change. This is a conditional use permit, which is found in section 15.132.
Thank you. The applicant, do they have any problem with coming back on the 17th? They here tonight?
They're good.
Sorry about that. Okay, but yes,
If I may, and I appreciate your hearing me out. I appreciate that very much. I'd just like to ask a question. Was there a meeting held by Planning and Zoning on September 22nd?
I believe there was.
And was there a vote taken at 1 hour and 12 minutes on September 22nd?
I don't know about the time frame, but as I read the notes, I believe there was a vote taken, and I believe that vote was 2-4.
Do you remember the 4 and the 2, what they stood for?
4-2 was based not the pass.
Okay.
So it wasn't not to pass. It was there was a motion made. There's a motion made to pass, and that motion failed. So there was never a motion made to deny this application. Let me rephrase that. I believe that's correct. There was a motion made to approve the tower, and it failed 4-2. So there was never a motion made to deny the application.
Okay, so is that, in our understanding, normal procedure?
There's still an option like tonight. We have an option to uphold, an option to amend, an option to overturn, or an option to have a public hearing. So when you make a motion, that motion can either stand on its own merits. If it fails, then you need to have another motion to either go forward or back. And then I believe there was a brought back before the council, the commission again. And at that time, there was a 3-3 vote that was taken. And there was nothing motion that was to pass it at that time, and it did not pass on those merits. Then it came back again, and then it passed on the merits of 4-3, which then caused the appeal for us tonight.
Okay.
And that October 13th meeting, as I recall, those minutes have not even been approved by the commission. We're looking at draft notes of that. So whether those change or not, I don't know, because they haven't had the opportunity to meet to approve those minutes.
Okay, if I might, I just would state that that they had well, the question would be, was it a legitimate vote at 1 hour and 12 minutes? And that according to 15.135I for reapplication, that if it has been denied, they had a vote 2-4, he said denied, then no application should come forth for a year.
Our counsel who was there or representing, explain that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I believe at the meeting this was explained, and it's been explained several times, that there was no affirmative vote to deny the cell tower. And by city code and also by federal law, the 1996 Telecommunications Act, you have to have a vote to deny it, state the reasons why. I know Mr. Lowry's made several mentions of this vote, but it didn't pass. Now, I could turn around and make the reverse to him. If the vote had been to deny it and it had failed 4-2, does that mean it's approved? No. It has to have a vote one way or the other. And we've explained that to him, and we've explained under Robert's Rules of Order, there's also the ability to do motions to reconsider and to go forth with the motion. So it has to have a vote to deny, stating the reasons why, per code and per the federal law.
Thank you. I'm going to ask just if we don't want to labor this here, but we did have a request of Walter Hugh, Peter Kemp, and Burl Cooper to speak. Since we're not hearing this necessarily in full tonight, are you okay to pass on this until the 17th? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can you come up? Are you one of these?
He said he's okay.
I'm willing to wait.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Kakavas.
I'd like to speak if I could. My name's Pete Kemp. I'm on the list.
Okay, just
And I would make it real quick, too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, in our packet, there's an extensive list of, I think it's 12 questions or reasons. No, it's more than that. It's 15. And Mr. Tregaskis has taken extensive time to reply to each and every one of those. I would just like to see before the 17th that those in attendance receive those notes and those responses so that everybody has their questions answered in advance, I hope, on some of these issues. But we definitely want to hear them as well.
So in order to do that, I think you filled out before you leave tonight, if you want to make sure that we have an email or a physical address so we can mail you those responses, we'll be happy to do that as well. Mr. Kemp.
Thank you, Council. I am tickled to death you're thinking about doing what you're going to do and take time to look at this because it is so important. We heard a while ago that this does not exceed the FCC regulations. Sunday night, I got home and I got to thinking about this. I went to the last 2 meetings, never participated at all, and it just hit me. What these people were saying, I just couldn't even believe what they were saying. So I read up on it myself. Now, I was prepared here today to tell you what does not fall below or above the FCC regulations. Now, you guys have to decide, and I have a great concern that you look into, yes, it may not exceed their regulations, but if I've got something going through my body and it hurts tissues, I read one article, folks, and I could go on and on and on. It's a major concern. And I want you, what I was wanting to talk to you about today was simply, I pulled up one article, and it scared me to death. Now, if I go to Google and I want to know about the weather, for the last 3 months, it hadn't rained, and it's been right every time. Now, I know Google's not right every time. That's not possible. But when I read, and people here that know anything about these towers, hey, I don't care if there's a tower there. I just don't want this stuff going through my daughter, my 13-year-old daughter's body. That's what I'm concerned about. The only thing I'm concerned about. I get used to looking at things. My neighbor's yard is a complete disaster. But after a while, that tree, I ain't even going to see it. It's just going to be there. And I'm not going to see it. And because I get used to my neighbor's yard. But what I can't get used to is thinking my daughter's laying there. And I just want you guys to do research. Thank you so much for taking this time and moving this thing forward so you can be prepared. May fall under FCC regulation. I don't really care. I'm still going to be affected. My daughter's going to be affected. My wife's going to be affected. And the closer they are, there's going to be some people that, oh yeah, we can't say for sure, but we can say that it does hurt our body. They won't say it won't, but we can't say it does. I understand. You're going to read this, but we are going to have radiation going through us. And I will say one more thing. I go to the dentist, and all of a sudden they're checking an x-ray on my tooth, and the nurse, she disappears. The dentist disappears. They put a heavy jacket on me, and they take an x-ray. That concerns me about this tower. If I've got stuff going through me, and they won't stay in there for an x-ray. So thank you guys for taking a moment look at all the options. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying they're right. I just don't want radiation in me. If you guys think there is, then please don't pass this thing. If you can say there's not, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. You know, I am going to speak just on behalf of the generality here right now. I know some of your concerns that you had was property values. We'll get into that in more discussion. We'll also get into it. I want you to be aware that just as some of our communities, the Heber Overguard, they're making sales of their homes contingent upon the people keeping their internet hooked up, because it's years before they can get internet hooked up. So they're paying the other person in their name to keep it in their name so they don't have to go without service. You know, it's there. Also, as it changes and our economy change, COVID has taught us a complete different thing about how we do business. And it's going to change how we do business in the future. And data is important to a community's survival on as far as being able to move. There's places of where we need to strategically place our data. We need to be able to be competitive with other communities, because that also will bring up property value if you do have a community that people want to locate in. And that's one of the number one things they're going to start looking at, and you will see, is how reliable is sources. And that can, my son that lives in Utah, could he move back to Show Low, Arizona and still do business because he doesn't have to be right there? So can we get jobs and people relocating back to Show Low because they can work in San Francisco from Show Low, Arizona? So that's something that's big to look at as well. So those are a lot of the things that we have on the table. That's why this is 20 years old and it needs to be revisited and looked at. I'm not going to say that we're going to make a perfect decision, but we as a council will weigh it out. We'll look at it. We appreciate what the commission has done. They've looked at it, but now we need to be schooled a little bit, because the commission are the guys who are ahead of us on codes than what we are as on council. So we got to be brought up to speed a little bit too. So I appreciate you understanding that as well. Okay.
I do have one thing I'd like.
Okay. State your name, please.
My name is Burl Cooper. I live in Fairway Park, where they're trying to put the cell thing up. One of the things that they've told us several times, that they've looked several different places to put this tower, and none of them can comply with what they need. But we've got a list here of at least, 10 other locations that they won't answer us on. And I'd like for you to ask whoever people to look at these locations and give us a reason why that these locations that are given in this agenda and this appeal are not available to them.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to make a motion at this time to schedule the matter for a public hearing in accordance with section 15-1-32G3.
Second.
Yes. Sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
My name is Steve Kennedy, 18756 West Luke Avenue. I'm in Litchfield Park. I'm a consultant for Verizon Wireless. I'm a radio engineer by trade, 32 years. I wanted to talk to you just a moment about the health and safety effects, just to kind of help everybody understand. So there's two types of radio energy: ionizing, non-ionizing. Ionizing is energy, X-rays, gamma rays. So the gentleman brought up, I go to the dentist, they put the lead coat over me, the nurse leaves, the dentist leaves. That's something that is actually can change DNA. Right? There's actually photons. When that transmitter lights up and takes an X-ray, there's photons moving through your body. That has the ability to change DNA. Okay. If you look at non-ionizing energy is radio waves from TVs, radio stations, cell phones, baby monitors, even off your clock radio, off the cell phone, everything. It's non-ionizing. The only side effect of non-ionizing is heat. So talk on the phone a long time, what happens? It gets warm. All right, so the amplifier is having to, create a signal, transmit between the site, the tower, and the phone, and then you're getting heat because it's just getting warm. So the FCC created the public limit of, it's called just basically maximum permissible exposure. That limit is actually for the public. There's two types. There's public and occupational. Occupational is if a gentleman goes up or a lady goes up on a rooftop, they're going to work on an air conditioner and their tenants up there. There's a safety margin that's put in place. That's 5 milliwatts per centimeter squared, averaged over 6 minutes. So basically, barriers are put up around the antennas. Things happen so that person working on the air conditioner who may not understand radio principles and theory can know, I don't need to go here. There's signage, there's barriers to say move that. Now, the FCC, when they created that, that was conservative by a factor of 10. So it was 10 times lower for the occupational side of what's going on with what the limit is. And when the FCC came up with this limit, they worked with the National Institute of Health, they worked with OSHA, there was many, many doctors, many government entities that looked at this and came up with this level. That was for occupational. Now, the second kind of limit is general public. General public is, I'm walking down the street, I don't know I'm next to an antenna. I have no idea. So that's the next limit that was come up. That's 1 milliwatt per centimeter squared. That's averaged over 30 minutes. That's 50 times lower than what the FCC found for the limit for maximum permissible exposure. It's very small. It's proximity based. So if I held the phone to my ear and I talk on the phone, that's 50% of the general public limit is this phone next to my ear. The baby monitor in the house, the Wi-Fi access point, anything transmitting inside the house is applying to that limit. But the phone is just 50% because it's right next to your head. Double the distance from your head or cut the power in half, it's the square. So it gets smaller. So as you double the distance, go from here to 1 foot away, much smaller. 2 foot away, much smaller. 4 foot away, 8 foot away, 16 foot away. It's the squares, proportional to the square. So as you get away, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, you look at the site, the transmitter with the tower, the antennas on the tower, 0.1% of the FCC's general public limit. 0.1. This is 50%. The tower's 0.1. It's proximity. Are you right up next to the antenna? Is anybody right next to the antenna? No. As you move away, right, you double the distance, it cuts the power by the square. It's much smaller over distance. So the transmitter and the receiver in this phone is tuned to those antennas. Just like our eyes are tuned to particular frequencies, our ears are tuned to particular frequencies, the antennas are tuned to particular frequencies. So they're able to decode each other. But when we're looking at maximum permissible exposure, non-ionizing, right, just like a light bulb, same concept. You go change the light bulb, it just burned out, it's warm, right? Burns your fingers, it's hot. So it's generating a light and it's generating heat. But it's non-ionizing, just like this. So you look at these and the transmitters are tuned in our body. All maximum permissible exposure is the amount of heat across the body, milliwatts per centimeter squared. That's the limit. That's what the FCC has, and that's what they've laid on any wireless carrier, any licensed transmitter in the United States, anybody. They have to follow these guidelines. It's called OET 65. You can look it up. About a 70-page document. It tells us, all us engineering geeks, what we have to do. And we have to make sure that these sites meet this annually. Every carrier spent a lot of money on these frequency bands and a lot of money on these sites to make them happen. They're not going to let it go. They're not going to make a mistake and lose them. They're going to follow the law. The FCC makes us follow the law. We gladly follow the law to make sure the carriers take care of their assets. Any other questions? I hope that helped.
Second.
OET 65. If you want a different explanation of it, you can look at OET 56. What? OET 56. Sir, any questions?
Any questions of more questions, comments?
No question. I don't know if it's appropriate now or for later, but I guess I'll just ask it now. Are you going to plan? I know there's been a lot of discussion about this being a strictly Verizon tower, but I know that there's a lot of towers throughout our community, and other carriers hang their antennas and stuff like that on the towers. Is that an anticipation of this tower that you'll have other carriers hanging from it?
Yes, sir. It is typically anytime somebody puts up a tower, it's enabled for multiple tenants, multiple centerline heights to attach antennas. So it's anybody can go on it that needs to.
And do you have agreements with potential tenants at this time to hang on that tower? Do you know?
No, sir, we do not.
And then what's the maximum tenant that you'll allow on there? I mean, is there?
It depends on one, how the tower was structurally designed, which typically you're going to see it designed for 3 tenants or 3 platforms, but it also comes into impact what not T-Mobile has a different network than AT&T than Verizon. They all have different spots where they've placed towers or antennas. So depending on what their capacity load is, how many customers they have working in that area, or the coverage or the lack thereof, that's what really drives it, as well as the height of the tower. You could say, well, 7 or 8 people could occupy that tower, but to put antennas at 10 feet, not going to go real far, right? They've got to be above the tree line. So that has an impact, is proximity of the neighboring cells and what the coverage overlap is like, as well as what capacity of the area is. There's been conversations about why a site's needed for capacity. I go to the Thanksgiving principle. This is the best way I can explain it. Everybody has an access point or a Wi-Fi at their house, right? You spoke earlier about the people wanting to keep the Wi-Fi active and make sure internet's still there. So when it's you and your significant other, there's only 2 of you on that Wi-Fi network. You can walk across the house. Maybe you have it on one side of the house, and if you get to the other far corner, it starts the signal bars go down. You don't give as good coverage, and you start to buffer your Netflix, things like that. That's capacity. So coverage is the fact that I have a signal, I'm decoding it, right, and I can talk, right? Just like I'm talking to your ears right now, or you're talking to my ears, we can decode the information back and forth to each other. Same thing happens in the access point. There's a connection. That's coverage. When I can meet your ears and you can meet my mouth, we can hear each other, talk to each other. That's coverage. Capacity is the number of users. So one aspect is, like I said, the continuation of the Thanksgiving principle. You and your significant other, everything's fine. You're getting good coverage. You can check your email. You can do all the things, web surf, all the things you want to do. What happens on Thanksgiving? All the family shows up. What's the first thing everybody asks for? What's your Wi-Fi password? What happens to your coverage and capacity then? Now there's more users. On that one finite radio channel, there's now 10 more users, 15 more users. Maybe one of the grandkids brought their Xbox and they're online and they're playing with their buddies. I don't know. It gets much, much heavier in capacity and heavier in traffic. So that means that radio channel is having to split up. A visual on that would be, let's take a water hose. You take a drink from a water hose, you're the only person getting that water. You're getting 100% of the water that's coming through that hose. Now, split that water hose in half. 2 people. You're getting 50% of the capacity. Split it again. You're getting 25%. Split it again. You're getting 12.5. More users that are pulling from that water line, just like the water lines in the ground, the less capacity each user has to be able to access. The same thing happens in the radio channel that these phones are talking on. It's a finite resource. It covers an area, but only so many users can work in that area and have decent coverage and capacity. I drove around. I took about 30 readings about an hour and a half before this hearing in the area around. The capacity flows from 20 megabits per second down to 0 megabits per second on download. This is a heavily capacity area. There are a lot of users here. You've seen the information where you've got a lot more traffic per day on 60 or on 260. You got a lot of people moving in. You're expanding your airport, right? You're expanding the snow plows. They have certain levels because of the amount of snow, the capacity of the snow. All these things come into play. Wireless carriers, they don't build towers just for the heck of it. It's a long process, sometimes 3, 4, 5 years. It's an expensive process, and they have to look forward. They have to look years in advance, like you guys did with the airport. You had to look years in advance to see what the aviation traffic was going to look like. The engineers have to do the same thing, and they have to do it far enough ahead. Now, one of the sites that's the neighbor of this site, it's already at capacity. It's running 95%. It's busy. It's busied out. The other one, by next year, the one that's on the west side of town, it's going to be at 80%. Or it's 80% right now. Next year, it's going to be at 95%. That starts to impact the quality of service. More people are moving in. More people are using phones. It takes resources to supply that. That's capacity. Yes, there's coverage. Totally. There is coverage in the area. Is there in-building coverage everywhere? No. Is there capacity everywhere where everybody's getting what they need to do to be able to have the voice calls and do the web surfing and upload and download files and Zoom meetings and all that fun stuff? There's not. It's running out of gas. This area is busy. It's busy north of here. It's busy south of here. You're growing. It's busy. That's a lot more people and a lot more phones. That's why carriers have to build the capacity in. They have to build the coverage. Any other questions or comments?
I had one more follow-up with the tower, this proposed tower, and if you had 3 tenants on there, have you taken that into consideration with the decorations and stuff like that that you're using to camouflage it? Will they, I saw the artist rendering, there was several large antennas attached to that. How will this, the decorative portion of this tower be affected if it was built out with all 3 tenants on there?
So as each tenant moves, they go further by probably about 10 to 12 feet. And then you have another set of antennas, and then 10 to 12 feet, another set of antennas. And they all still get the same camouflage where they'll have the socks over the antennas that have the little tree branches, and they'll have the branches that are surrounding the antennas, so that camouflages it further. And then there's things that Nancy could speak to better than I about amount of limbs per foot. There's all sorts of things that the engineers that design these sites have in mind what they can do.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Good one. It seems when I was reading through this as quickly as I could, it seemed as many complaints had to do with the aesthetic value of the tower in their backyard versus the electronics versus the problem with the radiation. Or were you the design engineer that selected this site?
I'm not the design engineer who selected this site, but I do a lot of work with the engineers for Verizon in this area. And I went back and I looked for many hours. I looked over what that engineer came up with and looked at what was going on with the capacity of the area, the amount of users, the growth. And you can kind of look at, well, there's a mile over here, a mile over there, there's 5 miles over there. I think one of the candidates was 16 miles away. I have an old mentor from many years ago, back when I started as an engineer. And he said, you have to put the site where the capacity is. Build the site where the customers are.
Why I ask is this map portrays where the location of the tower would be as proposed. Also associated with this map are several locations, looks like on Forest Service land, out around Joe Tank Road, where the public isn't faced with all of that.
Give me a second. Yes, okay, west of town. All right, that's the one that's about a mile further out.
Right.
So once again, I relate that when you build your house, do you build your bathroom 2 miles away? No, you build the bathroom where the house is. The customers that are using this capacity, they're using this network, they're focused within this area around where this cell split is, right?
And that's beyond the area that serves them.
Which is in the AZ3 Parsons. You go to Joe Tank Road, you build another tower that's farther away, just like the existing sites down to the east and to the northwest. All you're doing is bringing in another possible site to serve them, but it's not in the middle of it. What the engineer does when he has to design an offload, he has to find a middle ground between the 2 transmitters to build the offload and say, okay, I'm going to pull traffic from this one, I'm going to pull traffic from that one. It's going to help offload them, and then I'm going to provide better service within this area.
My background was planning microwave routes with site to site.
Okay, point to point. Yes, sir.
So the point to point is not an issue with the mobile that we're talking about here, as much as it is with 2 gig, 4 gig, 10, 12, whatever.
The line of sight still has an impact, sir, because it's the higher frequencies. You remember from moving from 2 gig up to 6 gig up to 11 gig in your microwave backhaul design years. There's distances that you can do, right? As you get up in frequency, the distances are closer. Well, we have 5 or 6 different bands that these carriers are using within this area. You have the lower bands, 700 and 850. They reach out farther. They penetrate through the walls in the buildings a little better. Then you have the mid-band frequencies, the 1900 megahertz, the 2100 megahertz. The upcoming C-band auction is 3800 megahertz. They don't pass through walls quite as well, and the coverage area is much smaller. So because of the amount of capacity, the carrier's having to engage a lot of these mid-band frequencies, they don't go as far. So you have to be very specific where you go. Just like when you did point-to-point design, you never put a dish not able to see the other dish. They had to have visual to each other, right? Same concept with this.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
For sure, we'll have more on the 17th for you.
Sorry to interrupt, Mayor. Thank you.
We have a motion, we have a second before us. Any other discussion of council?
Did you state in your motion the date?
We put down November 17th. The next, it will be
Council meetings.
two council meetings from here. The 17th. Is there anybody here that knows that that would not be a good date?
Mayor, I'll actually be out of state on that date, so I'll be in Dallas, Texas. I can appear telephonically if that is available.
Let's leave, I hate to put it off.
You can do a different night. You could do a different night. I don't know what.
You gone the entire week?
Yeah, for work. I'd be happy to call in though, if we can make that available.
That's not.
That would probably be the best at this point.
You know, that way we're prepared to know in advance that we can do it on that side.
I'm fine appearing telephonically.
And by doing that, it might be some of you are not able to attend. We'll try to set it up where you could also call in and discuss telephonically as well. We'll try to have that capability. We'll offer it. Can we do that? Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? See that pass 6-0. I want to thank those that are here tonight in person. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your willingness to listen to us and the willingness for us to present a different thing to the applicant. Thank you for being patient as we work through this process. Appreciate it. Next item we have is summary of current events. I'd like to council members for current events they may have coming up. Current events, I'll just share. Due to the low humidity and the dry conditions in our area, it's greatly increasing the risk of wildfires, which is very unusual for this time of the year. And as mayor, I'll be issuing an emergency proclamation instituting stage 1 fire restrictions in Show Low on 8 a.m. this Friday, October 23rd. Until the fire danger abates, no fires or campfires will be allowed on any property within the city, and no smoking will be allowed except within an enclosed vehicle or building. Motorized vehicles are restricted to defined paved and unpaved roadways. Restrictions do not include petroleum fuel stoves, lanterns, or heating devices, charcoal burning cooking devices used at residences. And anyone who violates the ban on open fires may be charged with a Class 1 misdemeanor. And so we just urge you to use extreme caution during this dry conditions that we have. Thank you. Go ahead and I'll finish up.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of things. In partnership with Show Low Main Street, the city's hosting a haunted Halloween drive-through trunk or treat on Saturday, October 31st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Show Low City Park. It's a free family event that features over 40 decorated vehicles with pre-packaged treats for families, and it'll be COVID compliant. They'll have gloves and pass them out for the families in each vehicle. And if you want more information on that event, you can call 532-4124. And just to update on Public Works project, work is continuing on East Hall sidewalk and drainage project from 11th Street to White Mountain Road. On the roadway construction project on portions of West Cooley and North 4th Avenue. And those should be paved this week. And on Cub Lake Road water line replacement. And also construction will begin next week on the fence along the meadow along White Mountain Road, in the meadow along White Mountain Road. That'll be a good project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other things need to be brought up by council tonight. Right. And I want to again reiterate to those members that are here tonight in person that served on the planning and zoning. We appreciate your efforts on this item that we had before us tonight as well. Thank you for your time doing that. With the elections and with life in general changing and going forth here, may we exercise our right that is given to each one of us. May we hold sacred those rights of life, those rights that we have as a nation. And may we realize our liberties that are ours to keep or ours to lose, ours to fight for or ours to give up. And so may we exercise what we can each do. And that's our right to vote, as we'll get out there on or before November 3rd and exercise that. Thank you. And a reminder of meetings that we have a retreat coming up here on the
October 29th.
October 29th, all day Thursday. So other than that, seeing no other items on the agenda, I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.